Hi guys, LJ back here, and for a little tune you, tune me time, I thought it would be fun to share what I'm noticing about how you can turn any moment into a moment of yoga or a moment of meditation. Those words are both so broad and related to each other that I guess I'm just having fun playing with both. But first of all, remember that word yoga, when you look it up, really just means to yoke or to join or to connect or union. So you can start to see how just about anything, everything can be a form of yoga, even a moment of yoga, if it's just about connecting, reconnecting. So yoga, how to turn any moment into a moment of yoga. And you begin to see how this means we don't even have to look at the traditional teachings to have a moment of yoga, right? A moment of connecting. And you already, whether or not you think you do any yoga, already know ways that you like to connect and reconnect yourself, whether you call it that or not. So you already have ways that you're creating moments of yoga, probably, whether it be ways that you might listen to music that you love, or be in conversation with people, or be in your moments with your awareness and your attention and your focus and your noticing. So those are all things that help us get in this more connected mode. And then meditation, another big broad word that has all sorts of basics to it and has now become all sorts of things, and even a misnomer, I think is the word I'm looking for, in that I think that we're a little confused about what meditation is and yoga. So I see that that's a big part of what I'm sharing, if I'm going to talk about these things at all, is what they are and what they can be, and really break yoga and meditation out of the box of it having to be anything specific, and certainly out of having to be something you do on a mat or on a cushion, or that you need someone else to guide you through. Really, it really starts to free it up when you look at what yoga and meditation really mean and what they really can be. Even as I've been teaching yoga and meditation for almost 20 years now, I'm here to say you don't need a teacher. But, part of what I can teach is this perspective and understanding and this awareness of how you can use it and what it can be and how you can personalize it and make it your own and make it part of your lifestyle and make it work for you. And so again, but whether you want to call it yoga and meditation or not, I'm here to help you see that you can if you want, and how you can play with it, and super simple and in the moment, and doesn't have to be some official different part of your day kind of thing. Well, it can be a different part of your day in that within 1 minute you could really shift gears and even shift realms in a sense. Or it could be this dedicated, beautiful chunks of time in your day where you feel like you're really practicing yoga, practicing reconnecting. Remember, it doesn't mean a pose. And or it might mean using some of the poses, because sure, they're awesome and great, and I use some poses every day myself, and that's part of how I offer yoga. But it's really about turning a moment into yoga as I see it. And so even as you're doing an exercise or a pose, you could turn anything into a moment of yoga through some of the ways that we learn perhaps from the yogis. This is where we can give the yogis credit for sure, that the teachings that have been coming through do bring some basics that perhaps are refreshing to us, especially Westerners. I heard something really interesting from Alan Watts, been listening to him a little bit more lately as such a foundational teacher who brought the teachings of, maybe more the teachings of what we might call the East to the West, which might include some of these things like yoga and meditation. But he was talking, and I think this talk must have been in like the 70s, about how we're getting near an energy crisis. Like he could sense even then that as humans, we're getting to this place of like an energy crisis. And he was even in talking about industry, but he more meant with just how we're realizing that we can't do it all, and all the ways that could go with how, life is just expanding and multiplying and getting faster and more options. So I thought that was really interesting that he saw that back then and was bringing that up, because I think maybe a lot of us, that's what we might notice sometimes, that we're in kind of an energy crisis with ourselves, whether we feel like we have way too much energy and it's really feeling unpleasant and uncomfortable and more like angst and anxiety and stress and tension and contraction, or if we may feel like we don't have much energy and really feeling lifeless and drained and exhausted and heavy, maybe overwhelmed. So that's what's interesting, I think, that we can get from the yoga meditation teachings, some of the basics that are refreshing and helpful that we can use in a moment to turn any moment into yoga or meditation. So that's what I'm going to share here. Some of those basics that I see are a thread through those teachings that perhaps are a renewed reminder to a lot of us Westerners compared to how we might be holding ourselves in our moments. And that's why it can feel so different and so reconnecting to bring in some of these things. So here's just a little handful of them, and we won't even have to do a pose, but maybe we'll do some poses one of these days. So just to get your position more comfortable, like I'm noticing my legs kind of falling asleep sitting like this. That's one of the reasons I'm not a big fan of forcing ourselves to sit in a certain position, because if your leg's going to sleep, I think it's smart to say, okay, I'm going to change positions. And then to make a position that feels good to your body and kind of more symmetrical and aligned, and be willing to change that and feel that out would be a yoga thing to do, a more connecting way to be in the moment. And then certainly a common thread is this more relaxed approach that can be helpful and probably pretty different than how we have been holding ourselves. Me too. So to just remember, oh yeah, I can relax more and add this lot more chill factor to how I'm holding myself. So to relax your face and jaw is a really big tool that I've been talking about for years. Turns the nervous system towards calm when we soften the face and jaw. So I'm a big fan of that. And then just playing with what we can relax in the body and soften and just hold ourselves more at ease. To just try that out and add that can make our moment a more yoga-like moment. And then an inner shift that can become like becoming more of a listener. So yes, hearing sounds around us more can be a yoga shift, and that helps bring us even more into the moment, and even starts to quiet the mind a little bit and focus the mind to listen to sounds. And then certainly becoming more of a listener with ourselves is a yoga meditation shift in the moment, to just shift into being even more of in a listening mode with our minds. So just watching thoughts a little bit more. And you could always close your eyes as a yogi thing to do, kind of radical, but it does kind of shut down the senses in a calming, soothing way. So I've found myself a lot more willing to close my eyes out in the world for moments at a time as someone playing with things like yoga and meditation. But some of the ways you can make any moment a moment of yoga or meditation are some of these things, like the softening and relaxing, the more comfortable position, the listening mind in various ways. And then, of course, being aware of our breath is a classic tool that helps and works, and just noticing that we are breathing is an awesome centering thing to do. And then, of course, letting the breath be a little bit more helpful and full and therapeutic. So sure, adding more of a belly breath, how we're born breathing, so bringing it back to the belly, I like to see and say. And then exhales are really important. So just letting the exhale be more complete and long. Whether you breathe out of your mouth or nose is a yogi thing to do and a meditation thing to do. So just those shifts without even doing a pose. Notice how that shifts you in various ways. And what's cool, speaking of energy, is these are all energy tools that we're doing to ourselves. So the ways that we've now shifted our energy with some of those shifts, mentally, physically, energetically even, we can feel and now carry on into our day. So those are some of the ways that we can turn any moment into a moment of yoga or meditation, a moment of connection. But there's all sorts of ways, and really, the more personal you get with what really connects you, the better I think you're going to feel, and the more your yoga is going to be working for you, because that's a good question to ask ourselves along the way. And we may not always feel the benefits of our practices during them. We may not feel it till later, that the practices work later in how we feel and how we're able to respond to people. So sometimes we might ask ourselves, is our yoga working? Is our connecting life working in how we're able to then be out in the world? And then, of course, if we're noticing that we're not quite as sweet and loving in the world as we'd like to be, that we can maybe know that that's an indicator for more yoga, more connecting for ourselves, the various things that do that for us, whether it's your actual sitting and doing what feels like more formal meditating, or your walks, or your baths, or your naps, or your horseback riding, or time on your canvas, time in the journal, time with friends that fill you up, ways that tune you. That's what this is about. So I vote for more tuning, and this is how we can help ourselves in the world, seriously. So that easy. Any moment can be a moment of yoga and meditation. Happy to share with you. Punk rock, I know. Namaste.